Pat Buckley.
Good morning, let's go on, Corla. I'll put them all into the one pack and make it easier for you, Minister. I suppose, first of all, look, you've inherited, a disaster here. And, it's not, very, very promising, but I'll go straight to the point. I have a number of questions here. On your speech, dear Minister, you said the certificates signed by Western Building Systems are on the department's files. Yet, as we now see, significant issues have been uncovered in these buildings, which were confirmed by the contractors. Do we know what these significant issues are? And on top of that, obviously you've foremen and you've site clerks on these sites and so on and so forth. They have to sign off on stuff as well, so will they be held accountable and responsible for this? There is an awful lot of money involved in this. I'd also like to pay tribute, I suppose, to principals of some of the schools who actually had the gumption to refuse the students going back into schools on the grounds of health and safety. And as you mentioned yourself a while ago, Minister, safety is paramount. So, I mean, while it is a huge inconvenience for school teachers, and all staff, I suppose, and students and family members, I mean, it has to be welcomed. But one of the other challenges was mentioned earlier on about cover-ups and stuff, and you said if there was a cover-up, regardless who it was, you said there was no cover-up, but I mean, surely if they find defects and they were signed off by somebody, somebody has to be hiding something somewhere. Somebody's covering somebody else's back. And I mean, it's not a personal attack on you, but I'd like to know if there will be clarity on this, because I mean, there is a lot of schools in this, and I mean, even my own area, there's 6 schools, and we've had situations very, I suppose, different to what we have now with the Carillion group, and we're still in a situation in my own time in Middleton where we've a vocational school where there's nothing happening. So I mean, it's all about clarity, getting answers here, and if it's possible, I would like even follow up on those, but I would be very, very interested in who signed off on these, what foreman signed off on them, what site clerk signed off on these, because from my own background, the construction with 22 years, and as a working foreman, I had responsibilities, and if I left down the people that I represented, I could actually face jail. So, I mean, that's how important it is. So if you can answer those questions, Minister, I'd be very much obliged.
Yeah, look, I appreciate the questions, and I appreciate the difficulty as well in the number of schools in your own constituency as well. Deputy Buckley, just maybe to take the clarification around certification and compliance, first of all, and like yourself, I didn't do any major works on building sites, but I did a bit of hod carrying in my day, and certainly I remember the vigilance and the oversight and the responsibility that was taken on site. And can I just make it very clear as well, like, the responsibility lies with the contractor and design team on these DBO. It's very, very clear, relies on them to their entirety in terms of certification of compliance. So at each stage, whether it was finishing the inside cavity wall, and for somebody looking down to ensure that the wall ties, there were enough of them, they were in the right place, that is the onus is on the contractor and on the design team to make sure that happens. And as I said yesterday at committee, from speaking to people involved even in the private sector, because of the new regulations since 2014, it's adding about 18% on average to the cost of buildings in terms of delay, getting the fire safety officer in. Design teams been very pernickety, and rightly so, to ensure that every stage is done properly. And it's also important to point out as well that since the 2014 regulations, while there's 4 schools that have shown signs of potential structural issues after 2014, there is a move towards a more regulatory environment. And if you consider as well, since 2017, the Clerk of Works are on site, so that gives added oversight as well. You talked about the certification and compliance. Once again, certification of compliance, onus is on the contractor design team, and then the certificate of completion, and this is where there's been a bit of grey area and a bit of debate. Certificate of completion is signed off by a representative of the department, and that certificate of completion is signing on the understanding that all the other works have been completed. So if you go out to Ardgillan, you go to Turlestown, you're looking at nice, lovely new schools, all painted, fresh paint, but we don't know what's inside the walls, because that unacceptable lack of standards and workmanship has led us to this situation we are now. But also I'd like to maybe separate out a few of the schools. Ardgillan is an outlier. It is an outlier. Some of the defects you asked, what were the visible signs? Once they opened up Argillan, issues around wall ties, not been sufficient number of wall ties in the right places, not the inside timber relief not being adjoined to the steel structure, the inside timber relief not being properly embedded on top of the concrete. So completely unacceptable standards, and that's why that whole building in 2009 Phase 1 building was closed. So that's closed today, but the school has a Phase 2 building, and that's why there still has been disruption, and there's been upwards than 200 students have been relocated off campus as well. So that was Argillan, which is an outlier. Likes of Turlestown, likes of Lucan have internal issues as well, but there has been an engineering solution agreed for the internal walls that will make them safe. So as of today and as of Monday in Lucan and Escarida, for example, those schools, that school opened and the junior students were able to go to school on Monday. And also in relation to Turlestown, and rightly so, the principals and the staff and board of management, there were a few jagged edges with the new supports and strengthening timber infrastructure, so they've worked with the team, and I'd just like to acknowledge the Turlestown team for doing that as well.
Yeah, so you can use your